with Dr. McGregor, and Dr. Eklund is one of our professors for human life, as well as Hamza is a postdoctoral fellow, and Anirudh is busy working with anesthesis over there. He's about to defend this semester. So this is pretty much where we do a lot of our data analysis from physiological data. You guys, I assume you guys know what physiological data means. So it's basically like heart rate and oxygen and all that. Taking that data and analyzing that in real time, as opposed to retrospectively, to see if we can find any patterns or any recognitions that we can use later on to assist in clinical diagnosis and clinical decision support. So we have a lot of different devices here. We have the ventilation units, which provide some of the manual or the automatic and manual ventilations for the babies. We have patient monitors where a lot of the cardiorespiratory physiological signals are monitored. This is pretty much exactly the same line of patient monitors that we use at the Hospital for Sick Children that the neonatal intensive care unit uses. Except this is just one level higher. The MP70, we use the MP50. And that's another baby log ventilator. So these devices are pretty nifty in that, I mean, if I were to hook any of you up, it'll generate signals that are pretty real. But at the same time, we can also hook up these simulators, like this unit, for instance, over here, which will give you physiological data you can use to run through your algorithms that you've developed, or if you want to test a certain algorithm, you can just pull one of these on and have the data the monitor picking up that physiological signal, and then we'll send that over to our real-time data analytics system that chugs away, finds out things, and then gives us results about what we saw. That's one use case. Another case is, and what we really want to do is we want to build this part of the lab into a simulated neonatal intensive care unit. So like a bay that we can have a mannequin or a baby mannequin rested right in the center with these devices all around, and hopefully a screen at the back there showing us real-time data, showing us conditions, and really visualizing the whole neonatal intensive care unit of the future right here. That's one of the projects that we're working on right now, which is apart from just data analytics. And then we're also interested in, like I said, communicating our findings to clinicians. So that's a new part where we work with clinicians directly, and we try to get the human aspect of the whole story within our engine, so that we understand how clinicians need that information, how they use that information, and how most accurately we can represent what we find, so that when they're working in a very stressed environment, they just have to look at a screen and know, I see, so I understand what just happened, and then proceed from there. So that's pretty much the gist of what we do.
So I've disrupted them all very badly this year because we just moved their lab. They were in a space, I think, less than half this size,
yeah,
and they were getting very, very cramped. So we moved them over to more space, but it's disrupted them, so they still don't have their big screen.
We're still
display.
setting up our posters.
I think yesterday you finally got your wires got buried in the walls and so forth. So Rishi's doing this in a very distraught state.
Yeah.
The basic premise of the research is that if they can use the data as it comes from the machine, so any one of these machines produces about 8 different streams of data from each baby, constantly, continuously. And in the hospital, they get read, if you're lucky, every 20 minutes. So, and they take 3 readings from all of that. So everything else gets thrown away. And by using algorithms that Carolyn and her team have been building on the full database, they now are able to identify the onset of neonatal sepsis Thank you. 72 hours before they were diagnosing it in the hospital using the face-to-face 20 minutes. So, and that is one of the most critical death threats to a neonate is this neonatal sepsis. So being able to identify it 72 hours in advance is saving a lot of little ones. And they're looking at generating more such diagnostic abilities. That's what the informatics about this health is about. And then generating it out and moving it into other things, not just neonates, but you know, when you're in the hospital, you're tied up to things like this yourself. So whatever age, it's generating all kinds of data. And one of the nice things, again, about the fact of how integrated and collaborative we are in the faculty is we have data, continuous data, coming in from, I think, 100 hospitals in Sudan, China.
100 beds.
I'm sorry, it's 100 beds. Yes. We've got the Brown in Rhode Island. I think there's 30 beds there.
Yep.
Yeah, we have Rhode Island.
We have Rhode Island. We're also working with Salt Lake in Newmarket.
And sick kids in
And
Toronto.
sick kids as well.
All of this is
38
streaming directly to us. So we want to talk about big data. This is continuous all the time. It is big. And it's health data, so it has to be really, really secure. So we have our own cloud. Actually, the faculty has 2 separate clouds that we use, then create. And our security people are on top of the security for the data, for the cloud, and so forth. So, and Mike is, of course, not an expert because we don't limit ourselves to our own faculty. Mike is actually in engineering and applied science. And Rishi is actually a health science student. And, oh, no, you're
Now
computer
he's a
science.
computer science.
He was
Computer
a health
science. I
science.
wasn't
So
many
computer
years ago.
science is us too, but health science is still over in health science for the moment. They're giving it to me as fast as they can.
We're kind of lucky that, you know, in our lab, we've been lucky to get really good support and connections with the clinical community. So, you know, you can come in here, and I came in for lunch one day and we had a nurse, a neonatal fellow, a neonatologist, you know, you get health science students, electrical engineers, computer science students, and they're all sitting at a table discussing, you know, what can we do with technology to make stuff better. And, you know, you don't see that everywhere. We've kind of spoiled that this lab has kind of been built with that kind of principle in mind, and so we do have really interdisciplinary.
So let's say it works.
Hmm?
It works. So the hardware is already there in the hospital. What you're really
That's right.
basically doing is taking in the data. You've got a software program that's going to analyze it and give an alert system if there's a problem.
Right.
Who pays?
So the hospital's going to pay, right?
The-
By
patient is going to pay.
by per individual baby, by month,
so-
by year, by data,
So
by bed,
business,
like-
the business model is something that we have been kind of playing with because we have spun off a company to deal with this issue. And part of what we're looking at is for a large organization, let's say sick kids, where they're going to have a large number of
Yep.
ICU beds. The